almost, almost a perfect Kentucky Wildcat weekend. All right, first things first, Kentucky, North Carolina finally wraps up. I was going to this game thinking this should be, if not the best game of the tournament, one of the 3 or 4 best games of the tournament, a tournament that has kind of lacked a lot of fireworks until this weekend. On the Wisconsin-Florida note, of course, I forgot who said it. I think it was Isaiah Thomas. We'll come back to that in just a second. Uh, a floater from 30 feet to win. Oh, God, that's awesome. Especially after Hayes hits the free throws. He's not a great free throw shooter, but he's been clutch all 4 years he's been at Wisconsin. So watching Wisconsin go down after they knock off Villanova, and of course, the story of South Carolina, you're going to hear a lot of great things about Frank Martin coming out this week because he's truly a remarkable story. We'll probably do something on him later in the week. But as for the Kentucky Wildcats, Malik Monk, in a matter of a minute, put De'Aaron Fox's name in the rearview mirror, which is wrong, but although it did happen, because he hit 2 remarkably difficult shots to keep Kentucky in the game and at that point tie it. If it wasn't for Maye to come back down and have a very, very long, the longest ever 2-pointer possibly ever taken to win a championship, to win a tournament game and go to the Final Four, and he buried that one. As for the game itself, you had a lot of back and forth. I thought the first half in general, I thought Kentucky was getting a little bit shafted on some of the calls. I think there was a lot of contact going against Kentucky that wasn't being called to get them to the free throw line. All things considered, I never blame the refs. It's never anything I will ever do. There's ways to win basketball games aside from that. And what you saw from UNC is just simply resilience. Now they got bailed out on a Joel Berry charge earlier in the tournament. It was a travel and a charge. They didn't call it, and they ended up winning that game. But in the end, the takeaway I have for UNC is that they're just not going to go away. Survive and advance is what they say, and whether you want to call some of it luck, some of it resilience, some of it toughness, they're getting turnovers at the right time. They're playing heads-up basketball. Although they are going to be in danger, I want to say, against a team like Oregon, who you can't undersell at this point in the tournament because they're being led by 2 remarkably talented players in Tyler Dorsey and Dylan Brooks. And those guys like to play tough and physical, and if you want to call it, sure, dirty at certain points, especially on Brooks's end. But that's going to be a really exciting Final Four matchup. On the other end, you got South Carolina, Gonzaga. But as for Malik Monk and De'Aaron Fox, I'm going to keep highlighting those 2 players because they have more of an impact going into the NBA now that their season's over. I also want to bring attention to the fact that Colin Cowherd about a week and a half ago, and he's sometimes a hot take artist, right? And while I agree more with the likes of Nick Wright, who goes on Colin Cowherd, more than I agree with Colin Cowherd himself as of recent, he did say that you can tell, and I'll throw to the clip in just a second, you can tell the entire history of basketball without Kentucky. I couldn't disagree more. I don't think you can because they simply, as he even put it himself, they're a factory for NBA talent. De'Aaron Fox and Malik Monk are both going to be top 8 picks in this year's draft, if not top 10, depending on what falls and what happens on draft day. But just look around the league, and why I relate that, it's because Devin Booker is 20 years old. He can't even have a beer, but he dropped 70 points on the 11th best defense in the NBA. Yes, the media has taken this out of control and make it seem like Devin Booker and the Suns are celebrating this huge loss because the Celtics beat them. There's exceptions to every case, right? So I think we should be celebrating Devin Booker's 70 points. I think there should be definitely a notation somewhere saying they didn't win the basketball game, but that can go after a couple other annotations, like Michael Jordan's career high was 69. Devin Booker did it against a very good Celtics defense. Nobody could stop him. He shot efficiently. He took great shots. His hop step looked perfect in many, many cases. He didn't need the 3-ball to get to that point. I think he only buried 4 threes, if I'm correct. So 12 of his 70 came from behind the arc in an NBA where most people would just automatically assume that if you get to 70, you have to do it with 7, 8, 9, 10 threes, a la Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, that kind of thing. So Devin Booker throws his name into the ring now as one of the guys in the league who can possibly get to Kobe's number. He's 20 years old. He's not the next Kobe. That's another rough analysis. They have very different games, in my opinion. I don't see a lot of Kobe and Devin Booker besides the, clutch shooting factor and can't miss. I think there's actually more Jamal Crawford in Devin Booker than I think there's Kobe Bryant, and that's a compliment, not a diss in any way to Kobe Bryant or Jamal Crawford. It's all just the fact that this guy's 20 years old, came from Kentucky, and almost a perfect Wildcat weekend. I had Kentucky winning in my bracket, so I think my bracket's been busted and shredded and torn 14 times up until this point. I don't think I had a chance of winning shit, even if Kentucky won the championship. I also had Rhode Island winning a bracket, so that's just how the tournament breaks down a lot of the time. A lot of really cool basketball stuff this weekend, though. So the UCLA note, because that's also worth getting to, because happened on Friday. It's Sunday. Back in the studio tomorrow. I'm not sold that Markelle Fultz is the outright number one pick. From what I saw from Lonzo Ball, besides a really bad media take of let's make this more about LeVar Ball, let's not. Don't penalize Lonzo because his dad can't shut the F up. What I saw, and it's unfair because Fultz didn't get the tournament to shine in, was Lonzo Ball's ability to advance the ball is something that every team should want. There is definitely a little bit of a mystery factor to Markelle Fultz. His build is special. For more on that, go to Corzemba's video. He does a brilliant job, and he did it weeks ago. So take a look at what Corzemba did on Markelle Fultz, and there's a dream scenario for a lot of teams. I think that's an equal dream scenario, but if you don't want to deal with the LeVar Ball fallout and the day he gets drafted, him going to promise 10 championship rings in 12 years because that's something LeVar would say, well then, go with Markelle Fultz. Just depends on what the system is. As a Knicks fan, I want De'Aaron Fox coming to New York. I think that would be a good fit. I would like that type of athleticism, length, clutch play, ability to ability to run a pick and roll effectively, and sure, if he has to, let's buy into the triangle. What's the worst that happens? Because we're doing the triangle next year, but I can't get sidetracked on all that shite. So moving forward, the Final Four is set: South Carolina versus Gonzaga. Not the network's bread and butter. It ain't Arizona versus Duke. It ain't UCLA versus UNC. But you do get four teams who have proven through this tournament worthy of being where they are, save for maybe UNC if you want to take that the refs are helping them, sure. It's interesting because at this point I think you have to root for South Carolina if you have no team left in the fight. Oregon's a fun one too. Don't forget, it's been 78 years since they made the Final Four, and 78 years ago, they won the championship. So, hey, maybe it's every 78 years the Ducks come through with a big tournament run. Just watch out for Dorsey and Brooks, man. All right, comment below, like, favorite, subscribe. We'll be back in the studio tomorrow. And that's it. We'll be back with more basketball.